Hello, it's Christina Tree, and
Luke Laszlo.
we are here again. We had an episode earlier about introducing us as the new member of IBC community and as a couple newlyweds. I am Navajo, just a reminder, and Luke and I have been married for 11 months now, and we are both serving. Is that 11?
No, it's not 11.
It is 11. June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. We're going on to 11th. We just finished 10th month. Close enough. I'm just 6 days short. 12th, sorry. But anyway, so yeah, we're back on the podcast. Luke, what tribe are you?
I am half Zuni and half Pima. I grew up down in Gila River, south of Phoenix.
Yes. So we introduced ourselves on our last podcast and kind of our journey to meeting each other and our journey with giving our life to Christ and how we got to that point. And now we're here, got to this point. So today we are wanting to go into just a more advice type of podcast. Again, we're very early in our marriage, not even a year. But I encourage those who are listening that if you do have more insights or questions or wanting more advices, I would suggest going to, mature believers and probably a little bit longer than 11 months, 10 months of marriage. Because right now we are definitely still pretty early in learning. So we've both experienced more on the single side, and so today we're just wanting to kind of share advices about single Tina, single Luke, and what are those advices are about. So Luke, what would you say to single Luke?
I think first and foremost, and I think we have matching ones, but I think the number one would probably be patient. Yep. Because I think for me, when I was single and I was processing through all that stuff, I think that I really wrestled with, honestly, contentment. I think that growing up in the church and just immediately serving in ministry, ministry was something that I really enjoyed, and just giving back to the community, just serving, this is part of who I am. But it gets lonely after a while, and I think that doing it for so long, I just really wanted something more. Yeah, and it was always kind of hard for me to have that patience and to trust that God would take care of me. But over the years, it's just so much of His faithfulness and His, enduring patience with me, especially when I wrestle with myself. And for me, be patient is also two-parted, where it's like I was really focused on growth and character and just really trying to be a better version of myself every time. But sometimes you can definitely lose patience for yourself, because I was so constantly, people are telling me that I feel like I hear critiques and like I really internalize them, and I want to work on myself and I want to be better. But when you just hear all those things over and over and over again, it really it's disheartening. It's discouraging. And when you're just trying to do your best and serve the Lord with everything you have, it can get very discouraging. And I think that's something for myself, especially going into relationship. It was hard, and it still is hard. And like Tina said, we're something that we're still working together, and being patient for myself and for Tina and for us as a growing Native couple. It takes a lot of patience. It's something that should be at the center of every relationship and everybody's character.
I think it's rare when you hear a Native man wanting to work on his character. And I was kind of wondering, what are some ways, or what were some ways to help you develop some of those characters that you were wanting to?
I think for me, I didn't have. There was a huge generational gap growing up in the church. It was me and then the elders, and I didn't really have like um, a native, solid, mature man in my life to really kind of pour into me. And so I think that I was always kind of seeking male role models in my life. And when I came up to NAU and I got involved in ministry and I fell into a good, strong brotherhood with people who were also seeking out good character, but then also failing at it too. I mean, it really helped me to kind of learn what not to do. And then honestly, just like I've been very blessed with strong native role models and finding this in community. It makes such a difference. You can listen to pastors, you can listen to sermons, you can go to conferences, but sometimes just sitting down with someone who looks like you is so impactful. And just hearing that those struggles aren't just your own, but is shared by so many more. I mean, it's so impactful, and I think it gives you the courage and encouragement to keep fighting for that character. Not just for yourself, but then for your future spouse and family.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I think that I definitely could see how that can be impactful, because I think as for me, like growing up on the res, like I only had one male model, which was my older brother, and like even for him, he didn't have a mature male model to follow, and he was learning, and he didn't wasn't the perfect model, but I think he was the only influence. I think we see that a lot on the reservation, and I think it was really hard for me to see that, and as for myself growing up as well. So I think what I would share with my with my single Tina, which was that far long ago. But I would just share with her that, just to be patient, that whatever season that, you are in, that it's okay. And it's totally fine to be in that season. And I think for a long time, I knew that I had a desire to be in, marriage or in a relationship. But the struggle is real. I also did not like it, but at the same time, I think the Lord definitely helped me to understand myself and what it means to be still and know that He is God. And I think one of the verses that really helped me was, delight yourself in the Lord and He will give you the desires of your heart. That is Psalms 37:4. And I think for that, I was always quick to look at the desires, like He will give you the desires of your heart. But we always skip the first part. And I think that was my struggle during, as I was figuring out who I am and figuring out what it means to be in a relationship with God. And I knew that during that time, I also wanted like a better a godly relationship, because I come from a single parent home, and my mom did not have the best or healthy relationships, and that was definitely something that I was kind of telling my younger self, where not to be like that, or forget men, you don't need them, you can do better than them. And so that was kind of a prideful thing, but I definitely see that God needed to correct that and provide more of a humility towards my brothers. And so that would probably be the advice I would get to my younger and single Tina.
Yeah, just to add a little bit on there too, I think that's another thing to kind of look at too. It's just that I think for me, like I definitely had a sense of entitlement too, in serving in ministry. I felt like I thought that I felt like I'm always constantly trying to earn, I guess that right, but it's not guaranteed. It's not something that is. It's just because I'm serving doesn't mean that, God's and that these promises are entitled to me, I mean, I think that was very rude and prideful of me to assume too, and I think that my process as a single person was also letting that go. And I think being content in that way and just knowing, you know what, God, you have that plan. I'm going to trust it. I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing.
That's true. I remember trying to push a relationship I thought that was God's plan, but learning afterwards I was just trying to push my own plans, and that was definitely a surrendering part. Was, God, I want this so much, like, I want to be in a relationship, a marriage, that I didn't realize how much I was idolizing it. And I think that was where God had to correct my heart and my view on what it means to really trust the Lord in that. Yeah, and that's the part of delighting ourselves in the Lord, is, trusting Him with everything that we have, our heart, our desires, everything. And then He will give you the desires of the heart. But I think also being careful to not just always assume, I guess, in that way. I don't know. I don't want.
That makes sense.
Yeah. If I want to blaspheme right now. I'm just kidding. So what would be your second one?
Honestly, I think my second one, it's going to sound weird, but I think that this is my second one, to be to look up. I think that, as I stated before, and my first one is to be patient. I think I really struggle with patience for myself. And I think that one can really turn to a very negative pride, where I'm just really focused on myself and really kind of, why isn't this happening? Why isn't this going the way that I want it to? It really gets me caught up in, just this really negative circle. I'm very much a pessimist. I'm like, and fully, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And like, it's just like, I'm almost beating myself before I even attempt to getting up. So like for me, it's like, chill out,
And I'm the optimistic. I'm like, things will go right.
Yeah. I'm like, no, it's not. We got to prepare. But I think that's the way that's kind of cool. Like how, like even there are moments where that our negatives, or my negatives, is balancing out, balancing each other out, where you can be optimistic. I can prepare,
Yeah. And then you can also remind myself too that there could be something wrong, and also be prepared for those things too. Yeah. So it's funny that we balance each other out in that way. But don't be a Debbie Downer.
Yeah, for
Just
real.
kidding. I think the next one, the other advice I would, tell Tina, my little younger Tina, would be, enjoy the Lord and those around you. I think the verse that really comes to my mind and really helped me during that time was in Jeremiah 29:11. Just after when he says, for I have plans for you. And then later down in 13, he goes, you will seek me and find me. And when you seek me with all of your heart, I will be found by you. I think that verse definitely spoken during that time was, being content with where I was in that season, and asking myself questions, what does it mean to experience Jesus as, the lover of my soul, as my best friend, as my husband? Do I really share everything with him? And, do I really spend these quality times with him? And I think when I finally grasped onto that was when I was like in contentment with Christ. And I remember the season in my singleness that I was like, okay, Lord, I am just gonna, let go. I feel like for a long time I've had this in my hands and held it on tightly. And I think this was the moment in my life where I finally released it and just surrendered and said, okay, Lord, I just want you. I want to spend time with you alone. And man, I definitely appreciate that time, because, it helped me to build that trust in him, helped me to be fulfilled by him first. And now I can understand, like, okay, Lord, now I understand that my husband can't fulfill me in that way, because you already have, and you will always. And now it's just that now I have you as a best friend, and I can just be like, oh, I can share and talk and spend time with you, and we're doing life together. But I think what my heart really needs is definitely what God knows how to fulfill. Yeah. And I think that's really encouraging now, because when you're down, I can, encourage you and lift you up, but I can't do that if, I first haven't experienced it with God. And it goes the same way with those around me, as a single person, whether it be my family, whether it be in ministry. During that time, I was a student at IBC, and it was, working at Little Caesars, just being the light and, encouraging those around me. And I think that helped me to practice to be, the person that I am now, that I get to, encourage you. I get to correct you. I get to, just build that relationship with you and trust. So I would tell little Tina that.
And that's something that I enjoy about a relationship too. It's just like, if you can really, I don't know about enjoy. You can really tell, like, when one of us is kind of out of sync, and especially with our Jesus time, our God time, is because it shows, because if we're both giving out of empty cups, we're not going to care for each other the way that God intends. And then ultimately, like you were saying, like, I really like how you're saying that, you really identify, like, who your source is and where your fuel is, So if your fuel is based on me, who is a broken and needy person, that leads to an unhealthy relationship. But when it's based on someone who is without sin, who is, above all, the perfect foundation, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, I agree.
What about your fourth one?
The other one would probably be expectations versus reality. I think as a married woman now, I definitely can see a lot of my expectations as a single person, and now I can definitely see the reality of it. Meaning, as a single person, we think about, being in this relationship with somebody, and we have all these expectations about how we're going to be, how they're going to be, how we're going to have this, perfect marriage or perfect relationship. Or we see other couples and we're like, oh, we're not going to be like that. But in reality, it happens. Yeah. We are two broken people, and your expectations are gonna be crushed. Just kidding. And I think that's something, like, I wish I would have told my younger self, was like, you two are not going to be the best communicators as much as you would like to think you are. You are not going to be meeting each other's love language. One person's going to struggle than the other. I'm more of an affirmation person. You're not a words person. And you're more of a gift. And, well, I do like making hand gifts, but I feel like you like more gifts, like expensive gifts. Just kidding.
Not even.
Just wait till my hardship comes in. And I think just having grace for yourself during that time. You're gonna blow it. You're gonna say some stuff that you're gonna regret, or you're not gonna control your emotions, and you're gonna, hurt the other person. And I think it's, important to have grace on yourself, because they really do see the worst part of you. But I think you also have to understand you're going to see the worst part of them too. And just having grace for each other in that way. And, not, if you're expecting him to be perfect, then you better be perfect. So don't have that expectation that he's going to be perfect if you're not. Communicate what you're really trying to communicate. I think that's been the major thing for us, and especially for me, like I know oftentimes when I've been hurt, then it would just turn into anger and then the Hulk comes out. Just kidding.
The She-Hulk.
Yeah, the Hulk. And you don't want to see that. I'm just kidding. But I think that's definitely something I really do encourage, just being honest with yourself and why you got hurt and communicating that with your spouse helps them to understand, okay, where is that hurt? And also for the spouse to be understanding. Because I think there's a lot of times where we can be quick to be like, oh, well, that's dumb to get hurt, hurt by, or what? You got hurt by that? That's nothing. But also just realizing that I think what really helped was the way you validate my emotions. And I think that's been very helpful to realize that, yeah, my emotions are just as important as yours. And it's okay to feel, and it's okay to express. And I think that helps to balance your conversations and getting to a same ground, a more leveled ground, to be on the same page and be able to move forward. So, yeah.
No, that's great. I really enjoyed. I don't know, kind of going back to you and I feel like it's communication is definitely something that I would kind of advise my younger self on. It's just like, because I feel like I'm such a head person where like I'm constantly having conversations by myself, or I'm constantly just existing within my head. But if I know that you can't read minds, nobody can read minds, and so to work on communication as early as possible would definitely help out a ton. And like even now, it's just like sometimes I really have to stop myself and really think about what am I actually trying to say. What am I feeling right now? And I think that having God at the center of that and as our foundation, it really helps us to do that, because like if you're bringing in your hurt, I'm bringing in my hurt, then we can actually, really sort through that with God as our foundation. Yeah. Because if it wasn't, it would lead to such a messiness. Because like you're right, you have these expectations without even really knowing it. Like you can be the most humble person on the planet, you're still gonna have expectations. So like nobody's perfect, everyone's broken. So to think that you have it together going in a relationship, I guarantee you don't.
Yeah.
Like I thought I was pretty okay going into this, but like when you're single, you think you have it together. You only have to yourself to worry about. But entering in a relationship just completely changes everything.
Agree.
Because you're not just thinking about yourself. You're thinking about your spouse. Your significant other. You're thinking about what they like, what they dislike, everything else.
It's no wonder that Paul said to choose singleness and it's better to be single. I think he already knew.
But yeah, like communication, it really is the center of everything, especially for two broken people in need of a savior.
As IBC says, communicate, communicate, communicate. Sorry, that's like drawn into my brain from being a student here. Yet I never really thought about it as a marriage thing. So, yeah.
For me, my third one was just. For me, my third one was just to push on. Like I stated before, I really struggle with this negativity. So for me to encourage myself would just to keep going. I struggle with a lot of self-worth and just a lot of internal stuff that it really, to hear the words keep going, I think that would help out a lot. Especially because sometimes I feel like I'm such like I always have this weird imagery in my head, and I think the thing that makes the most sense is like sometimes I feel like a horse with blinders on, because I'm just so set on just going, I tend to lose my way a lot, and I think that having that direction and just really um, having the word as a lamp under my feet, and just having that clear cut path, would definitely help me out a lot. Not
Yeah.
relying on myself too.
Mm-hmm. Who do you rely on?
Jesus.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay. I was making sure you're not going to say me. Nay. Just kidding. Well, thanks for sharing, Luke. I'm glad that we are kind of on the same page and learning how to love one another and to serve with God. Serve God with each other.
It definitely has been a journey. I just really want to say thank you. Like we said earlier, we're still in the process, and as we are learning more about ourselves and about each other in this relationship, I don't think that we'll ever reach a point where we're just like know everything.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Just kidding.
At least till Jesus comes.
Yes. And yeah, it's a little bit more about ourselves as newlyweds, and as far as native couples. And I don't know, this has just been definitely an encouraging time. I know that's definitely been a desire for me growing up, and just desiring to not only be in a marriage, you mean anybody could just be in marriage, but actually being in a godly marriage. I think that's definitely a challenge, especially that, we live in a world today that's not being encouraged. But I don't know, I've just always reminded of just the blessing that you have been, in my life, and the way that we get to, learn what it means to be a godly native couple. And yeah, I would definitely appreciate, prayers for us as we learn how to serve an IBC community within our home church, and, whatever else the Lord is calling us to. And, if it is His plan to have a future family or anything like that. But it's definitely been a blessing to walk alongside this journey with you. And yeah, so thank you, listeners out there, for taking the time to listen to some advices. I'm sure you have some, thinking about, if you're single now, what are some things you can do? Maybe you're not desiring to be in a marriage, and that's okay. But importantly, how does God want to grow and challenge you and your character in your walk? And if you are in a relationship, what are some goals that, you both can work on? What are some, not only just, educational or financial, but, what are some spiritual growth? What are some ways to start learning how to communicate more effectively? What are some ways to start practicing to, have a healthy and God-honoring relationship and marriage? And, for those who are married, what are some advices you could give to younger couples, or, it doesn't have to be younger, but, single people who are going through, their season, couples who are dating and what that means. Yeah, definitely be open to sharing.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Peace.